morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 23rd of June, 2025. As always, yours truly holding the media feet to the fire because they twist, they manipulate, they propagandize, they lie. And guess what? Ha
You won't be trusted anymore.
All right, welcome to the Monday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And I'm here with a propensity of thinking outside of the intellectual cage that's been constructed by the media and by the manipulators and the massagers, misogynists, whatever. Anyway, I'm encouraging you all to think outside of the cage. And as we get started today, as always, I would like to remind you that this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. Now, this past weekend, I attended a conference with the Jural Assembly here in the state of Montana. And I was really surprised because one of the members there had a Wave Watch on. I said, "Hey, you got a Wave Watch?" And she said, "Yeah, I love this thing." I said, so anyway, we ended up with a conversation, and she was using it for back pain, et cetera, et cetera. And, the jury is in. This thing actually helps people. Now, I'm not here to tell you that it's going to cure or treat any malady or problem that you have, but as Tesla said, frequency is everything. And Royal Raymond Rife was able to work with frequencies and find that certain frequencies would destroy certain pathogens like viruses and fungi and bacteria. But he also found that certain frequencies would help certain cells proliferate and thrive. And that's what the Wave Watch is all about. If you haven't checked it out, you're doing yourself a tremendous disservice. So please, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and check out the Wave Watch. And if you decide to get one, you will get $100 off if you use the promo code REDPILL100. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, that started. I want to remind you all that there are people out there that walk around life and they have an exclamation point over their head. Yeah, because they know. They absolutely know. Exclamation point. And those folks, unfortunately, the doors to their mind are closed because they have an exclamation. They already know. They got an exclamation point. You can't tell them anything. Now, there are other people that have a question mark over their head because they want to know. The doors are opened to their mind, and they have the propensity and the ability to weigh this information and that information and come to a decision as to which one makes sense. And it's not a bad thing to realize that you were wrong about something once in a while. That's an opportunity for growth. We've all been wrong, but the biggest obstacle that prevents people from admitting that they were in error is ego and pride. And unfortunately, those are the two biggest obstacles for intellectual growth. And yours truly, I've vacillated back and forth between certain issues, and I'm still trying to weigh out the facts about what happened in this past week. This military action in Iran, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh my God, they're going to throw us into World War III." Well, maybe that's going to happen. I don't know. I certainly hope not. But the point is, though, is that, I'm against killing people. I want peace. All you need is love. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. War. Dun, 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 dun. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I grew up in that era, and I agree with the peaceniks out there that war is not the answer, okay? However, there are times, that I've had to say, wait a second, you have to defend yourself, okay? So I'm looking at what's gone on over this past weekend, or this past week, rather, and what's going on with this military action that the United States took in Iran. And there are a lot of people that are saying, "Oh my God, we've got to impeach Trump, and we're going to see impeachment proceedings, not proceedings, but the Democrats are saying that they're going to put forth an impeachment towards Trump coming later this week because of this bombing." Okay, I understand. But in order to be able to make an informed decision, we have to have information. And there's a lot of information that's being withheld from the American people. As if that's never happened before, right? Mm-hmm. Anyway, I want to share with you some audio clips that I've been picking up over the weekend. And it made me stop and think and say, wait a second, maybe I need to reassess what's going on here. Maybe I need to rethink this thing. Maybe I was wrong about something, and not that I look forward to being wrong. Nobody likes to find out that they've been wrong. I mean, it was, who was it, Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens said it's always easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. So we have to overcome our own battle with ego and pride and say, well, look, maybe I was wrong about this. Now I'm in the process right now of still trying to sort everything out because, there's so much information coming on. And I have to be honest, I go through the social media platforms. I also look into the look at the network news. I hear what they have to say. And then I look at some of the stuff that's on X. And by the way, it's becoming obvious that X is now one of, if not the number one news dissemination platform out there. People are going to X because people all over the world are posting on X. So, hey, kudos to Elon Musk. Some people are, Elon isn't getting... Okay, fine. Whatever you feel, that's fine. I don't care. But the bottom line here is that we can take information, put it in one hand, and take information, put it in the other hand, and weigh it out and come to your own conclusions. Just use common sense and be honest with yourself. And that's the difficult part. Like I said, ego and pride. But anyway, with that said, I wanted to lay the premise. I have several clips here that I'd like to share with you. There are Iranians who have been posting on X and other platforms, and I want to share with you some of the opinions of Iranians as to what's going on. All right? So here's one. This is an Iranian who is pretty PO'd. He's pretty pissed off about what's been going on here. So, again, you listen, you make your own decisions. Here's the first clip.
What's up, my people? Just wanted to share with y'all that the Islamic regime in Iran, the Islamic government, shut down the internet for over 12 hours right now, so we haven't heard anything of our families and friends. And remember, this is not America, this is not Israel doing this. This is a fucking government in Iran. This is an Islamic regime. And y'all wonder why we hate them? They've been doing this to my people for 47 years. We are worried for the political prisoners. We are worried for our regular people because we think that since they're losing the war to Israel, they might just take their fucking revenge on our own people. And y'all wonder why we hate them? Why my people are cheering on Israel to bomb them? And then we do have some people that come to us and ask us, why are you happy that Israel is bombing Iran? Israel is not bombing Iran. Israel is bombing IRGC and the Islamic regime, their bases, their members. And yes, my people love that. My people hate the government. We've been trying to take them down for 46 years and they killed us. They killed us so many fucking times. They killed our kids. So don't fucking tell us that bullshit.
All right, excuse me, I was having some water there. Yeah, I had to bleep out some of the F-bombs that are in there. But yeah, this Iranian is pretty, pretty explicit about what he's saying. Now, the Iranian regime, the Ayatollah Khomeini, is not loved by the Iranian people. All right? As a matter of fact, there's another clip I'd like to play. This is an Iranian diaspora member. Diaspora. I'll say it right. Now, what is diaspora? Diaspora is a Jew who lives outside of Israel. All right? So here is an Iranian Jew, and he's explaining exactly how he feels about this entire situation. Here we go.
Let me make it very clear, as an Iranian diaspora member, targeting IRGC bases is not targeting the Iranian people. It is not an attack on Iran. It is targeting the very people who terrorize the people of Iran. The Iranian people share a common enemy with the Israeli people. The Iranian people stand with the Israeli people because the force that is terrorizing the people of Israel is the same force that is terrorizing the people of Iran.
Isn't that interesting? I bet you haven't heard that before, at least not from the mainstream media. No, not at all. Now, there's another clip here of an Iranian woman, and I think this is the one. I got a couple more here. Here's an Iranian woman. She has a very thick accent, so some of it you'll have a difficult time understanding, but for the most part, you'll get it, all right? Here is an Iranian woman explaining what her stance is on the Iranian regime. And I want to point out, again, the Iranian regime, they're Islamic extremists. They have been implementing Sharia law. And, you know, the hajibs, you know, there are women who are very severely disciplined for simply allowing any of their hair to show. Okay? They can't show anything. And if they do, they're severely disciplined, if not killed. Anyway, here's what she had to explain.
We're living in a country that provides us so much safety, so much privilege, so much comfort.
Okay, that's the wrong one. Okay, I'll get to that one in a minute. Here, this is the one I was looking for. Here it is.
Right now, Iran is under attack. Reports are pouring in, and Israeli strikes have hit key nuclear sites. But what if I told you, Iran has been collapsing long before the missiles ever arrived? Because this isn't just a country under fire, it's a regime rotting from the inside out. Let me show you what the Ayatollah doesn't want the world to see. Over 60% of Iran's mosques are now closed. Clerics are being chased off the streets. Half the population no longer identifies as Muslim, and young women are burning hijabs in public squares. This isn't rebellion. This is a mass exodus from religion enforced by the state. You see, back in 1979, Iran promised the world an Islamic utopia. Clerics took power, Sharia became law, hijab became mandatory, and dissent became blasphemy. 4 decades later, youth unemployment is over 27%, inflation at 45%. Women are jailed for showing hair, and protesters are executed after 15-minute trials. And people are selling kidneys to survive. This isn't divine justice, it's a slow-motion implosion. It started with a woman, Mahsa Amini, killed for not wearing a hijab properly in 2022. What followed? 350 cities erupted in protests. 328 civilians were killed. Over 14,000 were arrested. And still, they kept going. Women burned their hijabs. Teen girls shouted down clerics. And grandmothers joined the marches. Their chant, woman, life, freedom. That is the anthem of a dying theocracy. Let's talk the numbers the regime desperately wants to hide. Officially, Iran is 99% Muslim, but independent polls tell a different story. Only 40% still identify as Muslim. 47% say they've left the religion. Among 20 to 29-year-olds, it's over 52%. That's not religious revival. That's spiritual rebellion. People are turning to agnosticism, atheism, ancient Persian faiths, Zoroastrianism, anything but state-mandated Islam. The world is watching Iran's nuclear sites, but they've missed the real bomb. This isn't just a military crisis. This is a civilizational warning. Iran shows us what happens when religion turns into courts, women lose their voice, and truth is criminalized as blasphemy. You don't need bombs to destroy a nation. You just need to hand it over to the clerics. The Ayatollah's regime isn't just under attack. It's actually being rejected by its own children. Because when you try to rule through fear and God, you eventually lose both. And when karma comes for theocrats, it doesn't knock. It levels the door.
When karma comes, it doesn't knock. It just levels the door. Now, these are interesting testimonies, wouldn't you say? Gives you another slant on this. Made me stop and think and say, wait a second, maybe I need to rethink what just happened. Now, I want to remind you that before this strike, okay, Trump had been talking to the Iranians and say, look, you got 60 days to figure this stuff out. Let's come to the table and work this out. He says, if you don't do it in 60 days, you'll have to pay the consequences. Well, the 60 days came and went. And then Trump gave them a warning. He basically let them know it's coming. He gave them time to evacuate their facilities. Yeah, he didn't bomb Tehran. I mean, he didn't go after the civilians. He went after the facilities that were working with uranium, enriching uranium. Now, we've been hearing about, Iran's going to have a bomb in 2 weeks. Iran's going to have a bomb, in 2 years or whatever. As a matter of fact, here's a compilation of some of the statements that Bibi Netanyahu made over the years.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months.
That's 2025.
The wherewithal, the stored up, preserved knowledge to make a bomb very quickly if they wanted to do it.
That was 2018.
So dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
That's 2015.
6 months away from being about 90% of having the enriched uranium for an atom bomb. Iran is
That's 2012.
to produce 25 bombs, atomic bombs a year, 250 bombs in a decade.
2006.
Time is running out.
Iran will be
1996.
producing alone, without importing anything, nuclear bombs within 3 to 5 years.
1995. Okay, he's been doing this now for 30 years. He's been screaming about Iran is going to have a bomb in 2 weeks. He'll have it in 2 months. He'll have it in several weeks. He'll have it in a year. This has been going on for a long time, and this has been giving Bibi Netanyahu and his regime the excuse to have military conflict. Okay, and now, since Trump has gone in there and bombed the snake's knot out of those facilities, he's taken that complaint off of the table. Okay, so Netanyahu can no longer say, oh, they're going to have a bomb in 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. He took that off the table. So, and even Jon Stewart, and I played this clip last week, I'll play it again. Jon Stewart was even talking about this particular issue. Give a listen to this one.
But what happened with Iran? Weren't we about to make a nuclear deal? Wasn't our deal maker in chief making a deal to...
Okay, I'm going to stop it. When did they used to talk about agreements. Yeah, we had a nuclear agreement, a peace agreement. And now it's a deal. Yeah, it's a deal. I don't know, just wordplay, that's all.
Keep Iran from enriching uranium? Actually, didn't we have a deal?
A deal?
Before our deal maker in chief so wisely pulled us from that deal? Why did this have to go balmy on Iran now?
And by next spring, at most by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage.
Iran is months away from having a nuclear bomb, says Netanyahu, in 2012. Why did we have to bomb Iran now?
Iran is so dangerous. Weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
Holy shit, that's why. Iran's only weeks away from having an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs, says Netanyahu. In 2015. 2015. Think about that. Back when we all thought, oh no, the Republicans might nominate that madman Jeb Bush. Should have gone with the question mark. No, seriously, I'm not being facetious. I really want to know why we had to bomb Iran now.
We're going to show you Iran's secret nuclear files. Here's the warhead. Here's the bomb.
And that's from 2018. I don't know if Iran is any closer to having a bomb, but it is clear Israel now has the capacity to enrich their drawings. A hot war between Israel and Iran could threaten the United States. It's best we stay out of it.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying Israel took unilateral action against Iran and that the U.S. is not involved in strikes.
We're not involved. That's good. That's good.
The U.S. says it was informed beforehand.
Good neighbor policy. I mean, we were informed. They let us know. Still not being involved, really.
President Trump acknowledged yesterday that he was aware of the Israeli operation, and he gave it a green light.
It's still Israel's game.
Israel used American equipment during its initial strikes against Iran.
What the f*** are we doing? All right, so we knew, and we approved.
It's laughable. It sort of is, you know? And I want to remind you folks, okay, a lot of people are saying, you know, well, Trump didn't have congressional approval to do this. Guess what, campers? He didn't need it. As a matter of fact, let's go back to 1991. You can look this up. Now, I'm no legal scholar here, but as I read it here, this is Public Law 102-25, and it was signed into law April 6th of 1991. Now, this is right after the Persian Gulf conflict. Yeah, you remember, you know, Norman Schwarzkopf and Colin Powell and George Bush Sr., you know, that whole thing in the 19 countries, the coalition to go in there and take out Saddam Hussein because he went into Kuwait. And by the way, there was a story behind that. A lot of folks don't know that George Bush Sr. was heavily involved with Zapata Oil. Zapata Oil had oil fields in Kuwait, and they were slant drilling into Iraq and stealing their oil. And when Saddam Hussein went to the authorities in Kuwait and said, hey, you guys are stealing my oil. I don't like what you're doing, you know, and you're stealing our oil. And he even went to April Gillespie in the United States and said, hey, look at, you know, they're stealing our oil. And April Gillespie says, hey, that's between you and Kuwait. We got nothing to do with that. So that's when Saddam went in there and attacked Kuwait. And then all of a sudden they all say, you can't do that. And that kicked off the Persian Gulf conflict. They don't use the word war. There's that game that they play with words, wordplay. So they called it the Persian Gulf conflict. All right, so what does Public Law 102-25 say? Listen up, campers. This is Section 3, definition. And by the way, this is under Title 8. Again, this is Public Law 102-25, signed into law April 6, 1991 by George Herbert Walker Bush. Title 8, Section 3, definitions. Listen up, and I read. The term Persian Gulf conflict means the period beginning on August 2nd, 1990, and ending thereafter on the date prescribed by presidential proclamation or by law. Now, to the best of my knowledge, there has neither been a presidential proclamation or a law to end the Persian Gulf conflict. That means that we have been at war since April 2nd, 1990. Now, this is why, you know, back in 2003, when GW was going to go in there and bomb Iraq and take out Saddam Hussein, a lot of the liberals out there were saying, he can't do that. He needs congressional approval. You don't need congressional approval when you're already at war, or shall I say, conflict. So this is why we've seen so many military actions by our government in other parts of the world without congressional approval, because we are still at war. Conflict. As a matter of fact, here's Obama. Now, all the liberals out there are screaming that no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You know, they forget, you know, how many illegal aliens were deported under Obama. Okay, that's one thing. That's another issue dealing with illegal aliens. But when it comes to how many times Obama bombed other countries, give a listen to this one.
Today I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night on my orders,
Iraq.
America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria.
Syria.
Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Today, I authorize the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya.
Because a nuclear Iran is a threat to our national security. They can take the diplomatic route, or they will have to face a United States president, me, who said we're not going to take any options off the table.
Golly gosh, Obama was bombing the snake snot out of a whole bunch of different countries, and the Democrats didn't say anything about that. No. Well, how many bombs did he drop? Let's take a bomb count.
These are the countries that Obama bombed in his final year of office. Syria, 12,192 times.
Wow.
Iraq, 12,095 times.
Wow.
Libya, 496 times. Yemen, 35 times. Somalia, 14 times. And Pakistan, 3 times. 26,172 bombs for a total of 3 bombs every hour of every day in only 1 year.
Whoa. Hey, you hear that, liberals? You hear that, Democrats? Now, I hate to play one party against the other because, let's face it, the Demopublicans and the Republicrats, yeah, we've all heard it. They're two wings of the same bird. So, yeah, we've got real problems. I don't even call them Democrats anymore. I call them communists. And I don't call the Republicans anymore. I call them rhinos. So we're getting fed horse hockey from both sides of the fence. That's why I have no love for either party. But I thought I'd share that with you, a couple of facts. And that's why we love to listen to this stuff and say, WTF! I'm here with the facts, with the audio receipts. So you can't say, Dave said that. Dave's making it. You're hearing it right from the horse's mouth. And, I try to compile these audio clips. And again, we're trying to expand this broadcast into a podcast. And to be honest, I'm old school. I'm an analog guy living in a digital world and trying to make the changeover between working from reel-to-reel tape recorders and audio into video and in digital platforms. Yeah, it's a little difficult. It's a learning curve for yours truly. But and it also it's a bit expensive to get these platforms up. Rumble, BitChute, YouTube. So anyway, that's why I humbly request that you do business with our advertisers, and here's one of them. Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can find out more about Get More Tank by visiting our website, the WTF Reports. Click on the sponsors page, advertisers page, and there's a box right there that will take you to the Get More Tank website. You'll also get a 10% discount if you decide to purchase. So you can use the Red Pill 101 promo code. You'll save 10%. And like I said, if you go to their website, all the technical data is there. It explains how it works and why it works. And this is not a fuel additive. It's a fuel catalyst. Big difference. And what happens is when you start using Get More Tank in your vehicle, it'll take a little while, but after the first tank, you're going to notice you have more power. When you hit the gas, your car goes. And over a period of time, all the gunk gets cleared out, and you start increasing your mileage. And depending upon your make, model, and year of your vehicle, you'll get anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage. Do the math. You spend $20, you get 5 tablets. And if you're getting 20% better mileage, that means the 5th tank is free. You spend $20 and save an entire tank of gas, and that's with your first purchase. Golly gosh, this is a no-brainer. It's a win-win situation. If you haven't checked it out, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're going to save money, save the planet, and save some mileage. Anyway, Get More Tank works. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and get more tank. Okay, let's see. We got, it's 35 minutes past the hour. Got a couple more things I want to get to because there's so much confusion going on. And on The View, oh my gosh, Whoopie Goldberg, I tell you, I don't know. You're going to hear, well, of course, we all know that the View television program is like a conversation in the hen house. And I don't understand it. You know, I'm a guy. And I noticed this, that women, if you got a bunch of women in a room and they're all having a conversation, they all talk at the same time. They're all talking, and like, it seems to me that if you're talking, you're not listening. You know, sort of like on a CB radio or a two-way radio, if you push the button down and start talking, nobody else can talk, okay? Because everybody's got to listen. But in the situation where you got all these women all talking at the same time, I don't know, there's a period of time in this audio clip that you might have difficulty picking up what's being said. But one of the things that Whoopi Goldberg was comparing Iran to, you know, she was saying basically that, you know, we have the same problem. We're the same here in this country as we are in Iran. And I want to point out before I play this clip that there's a difference between some people doing some things in this country, whether it be, you know, hatred towards blacks or hatred towards gays or whatever. That hatred is not institutional. It's not part of the government policy. That's a real important thing. All right, here is a clip from The View and Whoopi Goldberg basically displaying her ignorance. Here it is.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not...
Okay, she just said, you know, the Iranians throw gay people off of buildings. And they do. And then they all start talking.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Okay, yeah, you're right. There is hatred. But that's not institutionalized. It's not part of the government policy, you bozo.
Hey, I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot wearing this outfit.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto and killed for
I'm sorry.
Well, they were like Iranian. No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. The point was just made that in Iran, a woman can't wear a skirt. A woman can't show her hair, okay? And that's the institution that they're living in. All right? That's not the same.
Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran.
Again, Whoopi is comparing racism and homophobia with, you know, an institutionalized government. It's not the same, Whoopi.
Not anyone at the table should go to Tehran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But, yeah, I know that. And we all know that. But every day, we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood?
Are the kids going to get shot? What kind of neighborhoods does that usually happen in? Inner city, black communities? We all know that the majority of the blacks who are killed by other blacks. We'll continue.
They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran.
They are not educated. They cannot have property. They cannot leave
States. I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent.
Good.
But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. You know, when you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe.
They can't go out of their house. The women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country, let's say, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Just try to understand from their point of view. From that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go for them.
I completely acknowledge that.
And we shouldn't compare atrocities.
If you're talking about Iran, of course, is doing worse things. But relatively speaking, it feels bad.
Okay, but I think you know that Iran is significantly
I guess we're going to come back and talk. We're going to come back and talk more about this.
They're all talking at the same time. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you because obviously Whoopi and some of those women are absolutely so confused. So confused. And I got to tell you, after that program aired, there is an Iranian woman who was pretty angry about this because Whoopi doesn't know what the heck she's talking about. Here is an Iranian American woman basically explaining her feeling on what you just heard. And if this thing will play properly, I can actually play the audio. Here it is.
We're living in a country that provides us so much safety, so much privilege, so much comfort that people don't even know what it's like to live in other parts of the world. And because, the world has been saturated with so much disinformation, this disinformation that was heightened particularly after October 7th, where there was this narrative that, these terrorists are just freedom fighters and they're not that bad. It normalized this idea that actually these regimes in other parts of the world are not that bad and maybe they're not even that different to the United States. Then you have people who are living in the lap of luxury saying things like living in the United States is exactly the same as living in Iran. Well, it's not anything like living in Iran because Iran, they are hanging people from cranes statistically once every 6 hours.
Wow.
Just 2 weeks ago, they amputated 2 people's arms because they were accused of theft. Did they have due process? Did they have fair trials? No, that does not exist under the Islamic regime in Iran. When protesters came out in the streets to protest against this regime, which is our unequivocal right under the Constitution in the United States, did they get met with the same treatment? No, they were shot to death and they had their eyes shot out as punishment. So my response is, how dare anybody compare the life that they're fortunate enough to live in the United States to what Iranian people are going through now and have been going through for the past 46 years.
That woman was spitting fire. Absolutely. So a lot of us here in the United States, we've been shielded from any information that's been coming in from, all around the world. Most Americans have no flaming clue about what the rest of the world is like. We live in a bubble. You look at a map of the United States and that's the world. Okay, people just don't know what it's like in other parts of the world. Now, I lived in South America for about 6 years, and it's a totally different world down there. Different values, different culture, different people. And I must say that, the Argentines, they're very sweet people, okay? And anyway, that's another issue altogether. But the point is that we as Americans have been shielded about the rest of what's going on in the rest of the world, and we only get we form our opinions based upon the information that's provided. And as I mentioned in the outset of this broadcast, if you're basing your opinions on misinformation, disinformation, or lies, that means that your opinion is an extension of the lies. And all we want is the truth. Been screaming about that for a long time.
All I want is the truth. Just give me some truth.
Yeah. That's all we want is the truth. You can't form an opinion unless you have truth behind it. So, there's a good reason why people could be, pretty P.O. That woman was pretty ticked off about Whoopie Goldberg comparing the United States to Iran. There's nothing like that. What's going on in Iran, the Islamic regime, the Iranian people, they've been protesting about this. They don't want this crap anymore. And like you heard in the outset, that one guy, he was basically saying, he's glad that is going on. And again, these nuclear facilities that were taken out over this past few days, Trump let them know it was coming. Gave them time to evacuate the facilities. He just says, okay, Bibi's been screaming about nuclear bomb for the past 30 years. Let's take that option off the table so Bibi can't cry about it anymore. So that's going to be interesting. And by the way, I must remind you that Bibi Netanyahu is on the ropes right now. They've indicted him for corruption, bribery, crimes against humanity. The International Criminal Court is finally being recognized, and a lot of the Israelis, they're disgusted with him. And since Iran started launching missiles into Tel Aviv, and they've been basically causing a lot of damage. As a matter of fact, Netanyahu banned people from posting anything on the internet showing the damage. And I saw a video of people, a mass amount of people that were walking, and they were fleeing Israel to get the heck out of there. And somebody asked them, says, hey, where are you going to go? And you know what the response was? I'm going home. What? Wait a minute, I thought that Israel was your home. No, it's not. The overwhelming majority of the people living in Israel came from Eastern Europe and the United States. They're going back to Brooklyn. Amazing. Anyway, isn't this fun? Going through all this stuff. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I got to tell you, I do watch all of the news networks. Well, it's hard to watch all of them. I mean, of course, you got ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, but you've also got some of the conservative networks that have popped up in the past decade. You got Newsmax, and you got One America News, you got News Nation, you got Real America's Voice, and let me see, the RSBN, Right Side Broadcasting Network. So I try to scan the bands and listen to all the different networks. And I got to say, News Nation is pretty darn good. I like that. But we're still not getting the whole truth from all of those conservative or right-leaning networks. Sometimes a non-answer is an answer in itself. And there's a lot of topics that they will not discuss. AIPAC is one of them. But anyway, I have to give kudos to Chanell Rion. She's an up-and-coming news broadcaster anchor at the One America News Network, and she did a pretty doggone good assessment of what's going on with this situation, and I'm going to play it right here. Here it is.
Let's remember what Obama did in the face of a nuclear Iran. Obama thought he could pay off the Iranians and bribe them into not building nukes. Instead, Obama just fueled the fire. Iranians took the money and used it toward their nuclear program. Iranians were given a limit of 300 kilograms. They're now exceeding 4,000 kilograms and still wanting to keep talking it out. It's like a parent who raises a kid's allowance to bribe them into not buying alcohol and ends up giving the kid so much money the kid goes out and buys a bar and then says, I swear, I'm not really running a bar, but can I have some more money? And now the kid is running 7 distilleries and has 3 DUIs on their record. Obama and Jake Sullivan were just useful idiots for the Iranians. They were using the naive, gentle parenting method and ended up raising a monster. Nothing in past has worked with the Iranians. And now that Trump has to go in and mop up Obama's mess, some so-called MAGA influencers are complaining that Trump is going in to mop up Obama's mess. Shifting back to our little analogy, that's like blaming the officer for arresting Obama's kid for bootlegging. Sure, if the arresting officer were never there, the kid would have never been arrested. But we're all better off when the officer detained the kid and gets him off the streets. And to be clear, nearly a week after this conflict has begun, the United States is still officially having the region deal with Iran. Now, there are critics who understandably fear that Trump is Bush 2.0 and this is the manufactured endless Iraq war all over again. Well, for those critics, here's some important distinctions. Right off the bat, the Iraq war was a manufactured war to appease the Bush family, the Halliburtons, and the Cheney bank accounts. Iraq's leader, Saddam Hussein, was never sending sleeper cells to the United States with standing orders to kill Americans. Saddam Hussein never launched medium and long-range ballistic missiles while chanting death to America, death to the West, and death to the UK. Saddam Hussein was never a direct threat to the American people. The Iranian regime, on the other hand, are doing all of these things. And it is a hard, cold fact that they were collecting nuclear materials with the stated end game of building a thermonuclear weapon. Saddam Hussein was a tin-pot Middle Eastern mafia leader with a penchant for gold-plated AK-47s and Rolls-Royces and viewed himself as a god. Saddam Hussein was just sophisticated enough to know that the death and destruction fetish he had should be limited to the poor people within his own borders. Iran's supreme leader Khomeini, on the other hand, has no such sophistication. Khomeini sees himself as a theocrat who rules wearing black pajamas and flip-flops. He's more a grumpy Ayatollah who thinks himself God's HR manager, placed on earth to clean up the infidels and spread his particular brand of lunacy all over the Middle East and throughout the West. And look, he's succeeded. Look at Germany, France, Ireland, the UK, Dearborn, Michigan. The comparison that Iran is the Iraq War 2.0 is absurd, simplistic, and dangerous. And if you're still uncertain about it all, ask yourself, what did our government have to gain in a war back in the Iraq days? Then Vice President Cheney didn't have the capacity to make hundreds of millions of dollars in the private sector. No, Cheney didn't have private helicopters and towers named after him around the world. Cheney was no Trump. So Cheney and his military-industrial pals took over the Defense Department and had to spill American blood to finance his daughter's congressional campaigns.
Ooh.
Bush Jr. just wanted to one-up his daddy. Cheney wanted to be wealthy. What does Trump and his team have to gain in a war with Iran? Well, Trump doesn't have a daddy complex, and he was a self-made millionaire before even taking office. His decisions rest squarely on protecting the American people from a known threat, Iran, operating inside the United States. And that is the true meaning of America First.
Wow. Now that's something to think about. Now I got to be honest with you. When Tulsi Gabbard testified that to the best of her knowledge, Iran was not building a nuclear bomb. Now, she has the right to be wrong, and I have the right to be wrong for believing her. All right? And I also have to point out, I don't know if a lot of you folks know this, but Tulsi Gabbard is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with the price of beans, but that might have something to do with it. But anyway, I wanted to throw that out there. Now, what Chanell Rion was just explaining here is that the situation is completely different right now. Now, we know that, and I mentioned earlier, this issue about the border being open for the past 4 flaming years, thanks to sleepy Joe Biden. And, well, actually, maybe he had nothing to do with it, because we all know that he wasn't playing with a full deck. You know, I mean, he had several bubbles in his think tank. He had one oar in the water, and they were all trying to cover up for him. So along comes the auto pen and all this stuff being signed in, these executive orders and pardons and all this stuff that was going on. Who was behind that? Well, maybe we'll find out. Maybe not. But the bottom line here is that the past 4 years have been an absolute disaster for this country. It's going to take years to clean that up. And I did the math last week. I was talking about that. Okay, let's see how many illegal aliens came into the country in the past 4 years, and where did they come from? That's kind of important to keep that in mind, because Alejandro Mayorkas, who was a HHS, Homeland Security, he was basically instrumental in helping a lot of these illegal aliens get into the country. He was a board member of the HIAS. Go look it up. Do your research. And a lot of these illegal aliens were given instructions how to get into the country, where the weakest part of the border was. And I have no doubt that many of them had instructions, directions, locations to go to. You go to Colorado, you go to Cincinnati, you go to Seattle, you go to Boston, you go to New York, you go to Houston, you go to Atlanta, you go to LA. All of these different locations and all these illegal hostiles from other parts of the world came into this country. And I have no doubt that there are sleeper cells all over this country that are about to be activated. Now, we all may have to stop and rethink the reason we've got a Second Amendment. Now, I'm not advocating violence or anything, but we may have to be in a position. We may be in a position where we have to protect our communities from these sleeper cells. And this is the mess that's been created. Now, last week I did the math. Now there was, first they said it was maybe 10 or 15 million. Then it was 15 to 20. Then it was 20 to 25. Now they're saying that there's 30 million plus immigrants that came across in the past 4 years. Now, I did the math. If you wanted to deport 10 million. Let's not go with 30. Let's say 10 million. If you want to deport 10 million people in a year, you'd have to deport 27,300 plus every single day. But we're not dealing with 10 million. If we're dealing with 30 million, my God, you do the math, folks. We're talking over 80,000 deportations every single day. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. So we got a real mess on our hands. And don't kid yourself. It's not just, Iranian sleeper cells. There were lots and lots of military-age Chinese that came in. And lots of Pakistanis. And lots of Syrians, from all over the world. And as it's been pointed out many times, Israel has been called the little Satan, and the United States has been called the big Satan. And because we've been funding these wars around the world, regime changes, etc., for generations it's been going on. So don't think they don't have a gripe with the United States. And don't think this is going to be just, happy day, butterflies and rainbows over the next couple of years. We got some real problems that we're going to have to figure out. Now, I was going to open up the phone lines, but there's no time for it right now. I just hope and pray that everybody out there hearing my voice will get centered. Get back in touch with God. Pray. Pray hard. Make your decision. Are you going to stand in the light or are you going to hide in the darkness? If we're going to save this country, and indeed, if we're going to save civilization, all the truth has to be exposed, whether it be about the plandemic, whether it be about the 5G, whether it be whatever. We got a lot of problems that we're going to have to solve, and the only way we're going to solve them is to pray to God Almighty to give us the strength and the intelligence and the discernment to know the difference between right and wrong. That's where we're at, folks. Anyway, I hope that you're enjoying this broadcast. I know, I'm bringing a lot of gloom and doom and everything, but again, you can't defeat the monster unless you've got the courage to stare him in the eyes. You have to know your enemy. What was it that Sun Tzu said? He said that you hold your friends close and you hold your enemies closer. There's a lot of truth in that, absolutely. All right, again, if you're enjoying this broadcast, I hope you are. I ask that you support this broadcast by doing business with our sponsors. And you can also, if you want to contribute to the GoFundMe, you can do so by going to our website, TheWTFReports.com. And also, we got some pretty cool merch going on there. We got baseball caps, T-shirts, coffee mugs, and the newest one has those 3 magic words: bribery, coercion, and blackmail. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Monday edition of the WTF Reports. I'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place, same platform, whatever. All right, that's enough. Enough, Dave. Shut up. Go home. All right, God bless you all. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe and stay free.